Hi everyone, a travel addict, a guy here, and I have a new video out and it is called 10 tips to help you learn a new language. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Kerry. I'm an American guy. I actually went to South America, to Chile, and I did not know much Spanish, and within about a year I learned Spanish. I learned how to speak and to converse with the locals, and now I live in Spain. So if you want to learn a language, I can teach you how, and here are 10 good tips to get you started. Tip number 1 is listen, listen, listen. You have to listen before you start to learn. Think of yourself as a baby or as a child. What did you do the first year or two before you started to speak? You listened. You listened to everything. You listened to your mother's voice. You listened to your parents. You listened to the world around you. And that's what you have to do, and you were always listening as a child. So if you want to learn a language as an adult, you have to listen to what's going on around you. So if you go to a foreign country, that is a great way to learn another language, but you have to always be listening, use your ears. And if you don't understand everything, don't worry. You're going to start to understand as time goes by. Slowly, you will start to understand a few small things. It took me several months before I started to learn anything, but you have to be attentive, you have to listen, and you have to try to learn new things all the time. Okay, the number 2 tip to learn a new language is to watch the news and commercials. When you watch the news, you ever notice how those broadcasters, they always speak very slowly and succinctly so you can understand what they're saying, and they're trained to speak in a tone that's moderate and that most people can understand, and that is the way they're trained to speak. So you can learn the language much easier by listening to the news, and I always found that commercials as well, believe it or not, in between the shows, they have those commercials and they always speak slowly, and they put the words on the screen a lot of times, and they'll say buy now or do this now, and they always put the product on the screen. And a lot of times, sometimes it's very clear the message. They want the message to be very, very clear so you remember it. And they always put a picture as well of the product a lot of times so you can associate the words with the product or what you see. So I always found that commercials were a good way to learn Spanish. Maybe they're a good way to learn another language if it's not Spanish, but always the news as well. They usually put a picture of what they're talking about in the corner of the screen. And a lot of times they'll have the words underneath what the broadcaster is saying. They'll have something about the breaking story. So that is always a good way to learn a language. Tip number 3 is to, obviously this is an obvious one, visit a foreign country. Whatever language you want to learn, you should visit that country. If you want to learn Spanish, you can visit a lot of Spanish-speaking countries. It's quite easy to do. You can go to Mexico. You can even go to Puerto Rico if you're an American. If you're in Europe, you can go to Spain. And you can always go to that country. So if you want to learn Polish, you might want to go to Poland. If you want to learn German, you can visit Germany, and vice versa. And another good tip when you're in that country is to go to a coffee shop. A lot of times inside of a coffee shop, they'll have the newspapers there. They'll have the newspapers for free for the people drinking coffee. So I always found that good. When I lived in Chile, I picked up the newspaper with my coffee and I would sit there and try to understand it. And I would learn a lot of new words all the time. Go to a foreign country that you want to learn the language in. Tip number 4 to learn a foreign language is to go somewhere that foreigners hang out, such as a meetup. Now, when I lived in Barcelona, they had all these meetups all the time. It was so great. Almost every day of the week, you could go to a bar. You could find it online, and they called them meetups. And you could go to a bar or go to a restaurant, and they had all these people, foreigners there, that would meet up, and they would meet people, and it's a good way to meet people if you're in a foreign country as well. And you can also practice languages. So that was great. That was a great, great thing to do. And I'm sure they have that in every big city. If you live in a big city, that's probably a great way to learn a language. If you live in New York City, for example, they probably have these places to meet where a lot of foreigners meet, and go there and try to meet people. And you might meet some people that speak the language that you want to learn. And if you want to learn Chinese, maybe go to Chinatown. If you want to learn Spanish, go to Mexican Town, for example, or whatever part of that city where a lot of those speakers are. And you can also do this virtually now. You can do a virtual hangout. You can find people online, and they have virtual meetups. So you can do that. So you can even find people online that meet in a group, and they actually talk in that language you're trying to learn. If it's Spanish, you go to a Spanish group and try to learn, and maybe you'll find some people that speak your language as well that can help you. So go to those meetups and try to meet foreign people, foreigners that speak the language you're trying to learn. Okay, this is one that helped me a lot, and it's tip number 5, and it's go to a thrift shop or one of those secondhand stores that sell books and try to find a language learning book in that language. And I actually found a few back in Michigan where I'm from. I used to go to the Salvation Army, which is a place that resells items that people have donated, and they had a lot of books there. And I found some really good Spanish books, Spanish teaching books for 25 cents, 50 cents, and they were really good books. And if you can pick up some children's books, believe it or not, children's books are a great way to learn because they speak very, very simply in the books, and they're geared for children. And when you're learning another language, you're basically a child in that language. So keep that in mind. So go to a secondhand bookseller or thrift shop and try to pick up a book that teaches that language or that's in that language. Okay, tip number 6, and this one's not for everyone, but try to meet someone that speaks the language and try to date them. Why not? If you're looking to learn Spanish or you're looking to learn German and you want to learn it well, try to meet some guys or gals that you can date that speak the language, if you're single, that is. And you can go ahead and date them for a while, and you might even find someone that you fall in love with in that language. And that is great. When I lived in Chile, I had a girlfriend and she spoke Spanish, and I learned a lot of Spanish from her. So that is always a great way to learn another language. Try to date someone from that country. Seems obvious, right? Tip number 7 is to find a buddy online you can talk with. And there's a lot of ways now. You can go online, you can try to find someone, even in a foreign country, and you can meet up with them, and you can meet up with them online, and you can have language exchanges, and that's what they call them a lot of times. And you go on, you could find a person in another country, find the country that you want to learn. Say, I want to learn Polish. I find a person in Poland to become my friend. You can do that. There's actually a lot of groups on Facebook, and you can search for them on the internet, and you could find someone and have a talk with them once in a while. Maybe once a week, you call them up virtually and you speak with them for about a half an hour, and maybe they want to learn your language. Maybe you speak English and they want to learn English. So you could speak a half an hour in English and a half an hour in Polish, and you could teach each other the language that way. So that's a great way. Find a buddy online to practice with. And number 8 is, I want you guys to expect to make mistakes. I know a lot of people are afraid to try to learn another language. They think they're going to mess up. And I knew some people that actually could read English, for instance, when I was in South America, and they didn't want to speak English with me because they were afraid to make mistakes and to pronounce the words wrong. And I said, go ahead, because you're not going to learn another language without making mistakes. So you've got to expect to make those mistakes and just laugh them off, guys. It's just part of the learning process. When I learned Spanish, I made so many mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, and some were silly. And a lot of times people looked at me funny, or we laughed them off. And you got to do that. And as a foreigner, they're not going to expect you to speak the language perfectly, and you can always tell them, I'm learning the language. Estoy aprendiendo el español. And they understand you're making mistakes, but a lot of times they appreciate that you're trying to learn their language as well. Okay, and number 9 is to get one of those online apps. They teach you a foreign language, and I've actually used one. It's called Duolingo. And there's quite a few other out there, and you can try to learn another language with it. I was actually using the Duolingo to try to learn Polish, and I did learn some Polish. I should have stuck with it, actually. I was starting to learn, and I've never finished, but I've actually learned a lot of things on there, a few phrases, and it's always nice to learn a few things. If you're going to a foreign country, download one of those apps. They're free. Most of them are absolutely free right now, and they teach you a foreign language. It's so, so great. So download an app and start learning a language right now. What are you waiting for? The last tip, number 10, is YouTube. Why not? YouTube has everything, guys. It has all kind of videos. It has travel videos. It has teaching videos, it has everything, and it has people speaking foreign languages. So why not? If you're looking to speak German, go search for German videos, videos in German, or videos in Germany. You might even find people that teach you German. So how can you beat that? Go to YouTube and start searching right now. You're already on there if you're watching my video. So, in fact, if you want to learn Spanish, you can watch some more of my videos, Travel Addict Guy. And you'll see me in Spain, and you might see me in other parts of Europe soon. So, hope you enjoyed this video. That was 10 tips to help you speak a foreign language. So, we'll see you in the next video, guys. Travel Addict Guy. Take care, everyone.